An entrepreneur is an individual who creates a new business, bearing most of the risk and, of course, enjoying most of the rewards. Entrepreneurs are innovators, sources of new ideas, goods, services, and businesses. Janeel Boon is the owner of Boon's Computer Repairs, but already he has experienced much that can be of benefit to others who own their own businesses. Today, Janeel joins us on Good Morning SKN's Stepping Up to share with us the changing face of entrepreneurship. Good morning, Janeel. Welcome to Good Morning SKN.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Jamie. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, at what point did you launch Boon Computer Repairs, and why this profession, and what piqued your interest initially?
I'm a storyteller by birth, so can I give you a story?
A short one?
I worked for a company for 3 years after college.
Okay.
And then I think I got thrown out the nest. At 2014, I decided, let's go home. 2013, I decided, let's go home. 2014, so okay, let's walk through my community and tell them I still fix computers.
Okay.
And the rest is history.
Oh, good stuff. I like that short story.
Wow. Well, it is a no pressure, actually.
Short to the point.
Short and to the point. That's interesting. Okay, so let's go back to that a little bit. Why did you decide to do that?
I think I got fed up of the mundane, got fed up of the routine, and I felt there is more than what I was getting.
I could relate to that. So do you find now that you are an entrepreneur that it satisfies you in whatever different way that perhaps working for somebody else?
Yes.
Because the smile on his face.
Tell me about that
I
satisfaction.
must say though, and to not get the misconception that you're working for less hours, I left an 8-hour job to now work for almost 22 hours out of 24. So, especially because I did that in my bedroom for the most part. So whenever I roll over to go back home, I remember there was a computer doing an update. So I sat to see how it's going about.
Okay.
So, but however, ultimately, I love it. I love beyond computer, and we got there in due time.
Okay.
So how did the pandemic affect your business, and how did you adjust to that?
It blew me. I'm a computer technician, so I'm one of those few persons that that felt it hard. It just skyrocketed. And then I also work in the radio industry. So I was also one of those few persons that were able to come out during the lockdown.
So you were never locked in?
So,
See, we saw that. We saw the clip of you. I'm like, you're doing it all. You've got these skill sets that just seem to ensure that you bloom. All right, let's talk about your logo. It's quite interesting.
my logo.
Yeah.
2018, I met a young lady from Venezuela in the US on something called Wiley. And her computer broke down. And we decided, instead of you pay me, let's work on my logo. And we started working on that. About 3 months later, I had this. I designed a little bit, so I showed the sketch and everything. We communicated back and forth, and we were able to actually get it alive. To an extent, you would actually see a crack screen here, and then of course you had the B and the C. But inside of it, you had the line that shows this crack, and on the right, you would actually have a screwdriver. I'm not sure if my shirt is doing justice. But
close enough.
You have a screwdriver on the most right of that said screen. Because it's mostly repairs, and intentionally, if we were to pull up the logo itself, the word repairs is much lighter than all the others.
Okay.
As I do intend to remove the word repair. So by the time I do that, folks would see.
I love the crack screen, I got to tell you, by the way. And the B and the C, that escaped me until you pointed it out. And
I see
love
the
way you
C,
did
but
it.
I didn't recognize the B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, zero. B for brood, B for brood.
So how do you keep a cutting edge on this profession, considering that technology is always advancing?
Still learning. So ever so often I would have a video, I'm looking at some TED talk, or maybe just having a tech news running in the background.
Okay.
So still learning.
All right, I have to ask you now, when it comes to working for yourself, you're an entrepreneur, people tend to think that it's all glamorous. You know, it's the grass is always greener, it's better. I know that your experience was that you're more satisfied now working for yourself, but have there been moments when you thought maybe the grass wasn't as green, and how do you keep motivated during those moments?
I must say, being an entrepreneur, you can work yourself to death, and that NTH, or you can work yourself, you can sleep or relax yourself into debt, DEBT. So there are times when I don't get any money at all in that week, but at least I met a few persons in that week, and that gives me a smile. That at least I was able to send out a post on one of my social media platforms that, according to the analytics, it had more attention. All these stuff, at least I was able to put invoice structures in place, those tedious jobs. But either way, not having the money at that time, it still shows you could benefit in other arenas from that.
But as you said before, you're an interesting storyteller, and a little K-bird picked me on the air not too long ago and said that there was an interesting story about a hike. Yeah, K-bird. Take it away.
So he did mention that they went on a hike, and it was before an exam. They ran into a warhog.
I want you to tell it. Just tell me. Yeah.
Okay, so in fifth form, I grew up in Middle Island, so we always went to the mountains to look mangoes and them things. We were known for that. And myself and a friend of mine went, and while we were looking mangoes, remember looking, we saw a bohag, a pig with horns. That's what we call bohags. Right in St. Kitts. And when I mentioned it to you earlier, I said, if we have them, same question we asked ourselves. Why does this pig have horns? So we ran, and we went in trees and them things. Soon later, we realized that we were no longer on the regular pathway. So a few hours later, I remembered I had a CXC exam that same afternoon. And I would have missed it.
Wow.
It's harsh, painful, and the whole moment was still scary yet fun. It's like, I'm being chased by a bohag. I'm like, oh no, I'm being chased by a bohag.
Oh, gotcha. And the hike club. You were hiking.
Yeah.
It's part of the hike club.
Back then, yes. This wasn't an official hike.
This wasn't an official
we went to look mango that time. Hike club stemmed from me being a taxi driver. I have a taxi license in 2015. And in 2020, I bought a vehicle and all them things. And then COVID came. And I continue going on hikes with the National Museum and all them things, as I used to provide as a taxi driver. And people kept saying, I always post these things on the social media, and people like, when can I come with you? And I'm not the organizer. So August last year, I organized to go to the volcano. And then I went back to the volcano again in September, went to the dance bar and went back to the volcano. And that kept to be our signature hike. Up to today now, we are still doing hikes every month.
Oh, that's good. That's fascinating. And I like the way that you pivoted.
Yes, I step pivoting.
Yeah, you wear many hats indeed. Many hats.
Shades. I prefer shades and hats.
Okay, you wear many shades. Many shades. But how do you manage with the radio station, the computer repairs, the taxi driving, and still organizing hikes?
How do I manage? I be that person at that time. When I'm on here as a radio host, if someone call me computer, I say, can I call her back after 6? I try not to speak about that at that time. When I'm on a hike, I'm enjoying the symphony of the birds between these people. When I'm fixing computer, I'm not thinking about radio for the most part. So I try to be in the moment as much as I can.
Good stuff, good stuff.
All right, so let's talk about your platform, the LEES, Leadership Empowerment and Educational Source. What's the objective?
To empower people as much as possible. To show people that you may think that I'm doing all this, you can too. You show them that most of this is already in you, or around you. You are thinking about becoming a millionaire, but you have a oven in your kitchen that you can bake. That's a start. You may like hikes. How about you start actually carrying people on hikes? And that's pretty much what it is, to make these things available for you.
All right, so how does that work? Do you have any events? Do you speak publicly? What is that?
I do private speaking, whether it's at school or you're gonna hire me to do a training and what's not. But in 2019, I did a leadership retreat. From then, pandemic came. I have now been doing a startup huddle sponsored by the US and the Taiwan Embassy. And every month we meet with 25 entrepreneurs and we just talk about things, learn about our differentiators, our logos, our visibility. We just give a whole large amount of freebies to these people there. And that's pretty much how it goes from there.
It's a way to pay it forward.
It is.
Yeah. So you are the host of the Big Ask podcast. Tell us about that.
Let's back it up. I couldn't host Lee's in 2020.
Okay.
So I got frustrated. One time I couldn't pivot. I like, what can I really do? I don't want to go virtual. So being in radio and everything, I then realized there's another cousin to radio, which is podcasting. So I decided to put Lee's September 2020 in recording a few episodes of what would have taken place on Lee's and put it out. And to date, we try to bring out an episode every week or so. Yeah, talking about leadership or entrepreneurship.
Because I was just going to ask, what topics do you speak about on the Big Axe?
Pretty much anything any perspiration that can come from me, and I use that word intentionally. So if it can come out of me, I'm going to speak about it.
Oh, good stuff.
The Big Ask. Okay, why the name The Big Ask?
A big question really is like asking someone successful what is the biggest failure. You can expect some of those questions, and those questions give you the most meat.
Yeah. You made me want to ask you that, but we don't have time. Now you say that.
My biggest failure would be telling you that.
For now.
So before we go, I would like to close out with the final question. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs out there? So you look right there.
Go hard or stay home. I can't tell you go home, but go hard or stay home. You want to realize that you are writing your own script. So be careful, be mindful. Ask yourself, what would someone say about you 200 years from now? How would someone want to carry on what you are doing now when you are gone? These are some questions to consider. But most importantly, go hard. That's pretty much.
Hey, great advice, Janeel.
Indeed.
Great advice. Yeah, maybe one of these days you'll be sitting here. We'll talk about that later.